Political Science 3, Unit 2. Today's topic is Gandhism. Basic principles of Gandhism. Mahatma Gandhi was an intensely active personality. He was interested in everything that concerns the individual or society. He is best known as the matchless political leader who evolved the new technique of satyagraha. His fight against untouchability and the notions of superiority and inferiority by birth are also fairly well known. For India, his greatest service was perhaps the emancipation of Indian women. It is generally known that he lived an austere life, practiced strict vegetarianism and abstained from alcohol, drinks, tobacco, and even the milder stimulants like coffee and tea. His attachment to smile natural remedies against illness and disease and his radical ideas on education are not so well known to the outside world and even in India. They have not made much impact. Gandhi deliberately refrained from making these public issues and thereby confusing the people. The only exception was prohibition of intoxicating drinks, which became a tool in the armory of satyagraha. Therefore, it became a plank in the Congress program, but it was well known that an important supporter of Gandhi was privately addicted to drink, and the great leader did not take undue notice of it, even though it got into the constitution in the form of a directive principle. There has been no honesty about prohibition among the Congress governments and congressmen in general. Gandhi's views on language, government and economics played a considerable part in his political governments and in the program of Khadi and village industries, including the 5-year plans and in the Panchayati Raj, which has recently been established. They have been accepted and implemented to some extent. If all these ideas and activities are viewed in isolation, they constitute a miscellaneous and rather archaic collection, the importance of which will dwindle and fade away with time. It is only when it is realized that Gandhi was fundamentally a moral and a social philosopher, and that through these items he sought to experiment with certain far-reaching fundamental principles of those absolute truth. He was convinced beyond all the doubt that their true significance becomes clear. The Gandhian principles. The first principle which guided all these thoughts and activities is the complete unity and integrity of body, mind and soul in the individual human He was never tried to saying that the body should be controlled by the mind and the mind by the soul. But this control is not to be achieved by despising or neglecting either the body or the mind, or in the mystic exaltation of the soul by itself. He attached to physical health and well-being so much importance as to pain and logical thinking or moral responsibility. He was one of the most logical and powerful writers, yet he was never tried of decrying all idle and purposeless playing with words and ideas or definition of thought as such. He was convinced that real thought must be organically connected to moral purposes on the one side and useful and right action of the other. It has been claimed that the greatest achievement of Gandhi was the spiritualization of politics. This is undoubtedly true, but he had no faith in spirituality by itself as an abstract virtue. He conceived it as a kind of illumination of fragrance which should accompany every thought and action. It is difficult to define it except perhaps through the verses of the Bhagavad Gita which constituted his daily prayer. The second principle of Gandhian philosophy may be stated as follows: all social action should be governed by the same simple set of moral values, of which the main elements are selflessness, non-attachment, non-violence, and active service. It will take me too long to define and elaborate his ideas in respect of each of those, but he believed that the growth of a man's personality is proportionate to his faith and in practice of these virtues. This is possible only when he identifies himself more and more with an ever increasing circle till it embraces all humanity and even all living beings. He judged the value and validity of social institutions by their capacity to foster in growth. His third conviction was that so society, state, or any other institution has any worth or importance apart from its part of contribution to the growth of the individuals of which it is composed. The state, which nation, the community, and other traditional groupings had no instinct its value of him. In the pages of young Indies in the earlier years, he defended the caste system as a great scheme of social and sexual discipline, but in the light of actual experience, he abandoned it as an impractical system, though to the end he believed in some kind of voluntary and ideals school groups based on qualifications and capacity for service. It was Gandhi's firm conviction that means are at least as important as and often even more important than ends. It is of course desirable that the ends should be good and reasonable, but they merely give a direction to life while the means adopted constitute life itself. Therefore, if the means are right, that is, if they conform to the tests of truth and non-violence, even mistakes, errors and failures aid and growth of the individual. On the other hand, wrong means corrupt the soul and no good can ever come out of them. Gandhi repudiated categorically the idea and ends justify the means. This implies the rejection of war, espionage and crooked diplomacy, even when they are adopted for the so-called noble ends of defending the country, a religion or humanity. Faith in God is, according to Gandhi, the foundation of all moral values. He never defined God and was prepared to every person to have his own idea of God. For himself, he was inclined to think of him as a Upanishadic Brahman. But so long as a person believes in some sources of spiritual life and holds it superior to the material universe, he is a believer in God. Gandhi had no objection even to a formal profession of agnosticism, so long as a person demonstrated by his attachment to moral values that this outlook was essentially spiritual in essence. I believe that the influence of Gandhi in the future will depend more and more on the realization that these fundamental principles constituted the core of his teachings, and that all his actions were merely illustrations of their application. He considered his life as a series of experiments with truth. Therefore, it is his conception of truth that is central to his life and work. I do not claim that the principles I have indicated exhaust his conception, but I believe that they constitute its basic elements. Understanding Gandhian philosophy. Gandhi, it is true, was not concerned with constructing a system of philosophy, but mainly with applying the ideas and principles that bad become a part of his life. Therefore, we do not find the distinction between the ideal and the actual explicitly stated. One discovers this only when studying his ideas in the context of his background, which was essentially that of Hindu philosophy. Cut off from his source, his ideas the impressions of inconsistency read to the context, they form a coherent whole. He may therefore not appearing to be consistent with his previous statements, but he is in his own words consistent with the truth as it may present itself as a given moment. He explains in future. However, I have been obliged to compare my writing even 50 years ago with the latest. I have discovered no inconsistency between the two. But friends who observe inconsistency shall try to see that there is not an underlying and abiding consistency between the two seeming inconsistency. Although for understanding Gandhi's philosophy, it is necessary that the concepts be understood in the context of Hindu philosophy. It is equal importance to bear in mind that Gandhi's conversations of terms and different forms of prevalent ones.